Hi guys, Gizu64 here, and today we are going to be talking about Picard, Season 1, Episode 1, and man, I've been looking forward to this. Been looking forward to this for a while. When this was first announced, I did a video, and now I did do a video last week after the Variety article came out. The Variety article basically implied that we were going to get another dark, drab, terrible, non-Star Trek show. So I was really hesitant about how Picard was going to turn out. Now, for those who don't know, I'm a huge TNG fan, as evident by the Enterprise D that I have back here. I'm really looking forward to getting into this review because I have a lot of stuff to say. And actually, you may be surprised, I actually have some positives here. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. There's negatives too. However, it is better than what I had feared. So yeah, I can't wait to get into this, guys. I hope you guys are ready for the truth.
Oh, geek.
True. 64.
Geek. Truth. Geek.
True. 64. Oh, shit.
For that one fraction of a second, you were open to options you had never considered. That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
Q, what is it that you're trying to tell me?
You'll find out.
Yes, so that is where TNG left off. Q showing Picard that humanity has a future that they can't foresee quite yet, but they're on the precipice. And that's what Star Trek's about. Star Trek is about the search, the exploration, not just of planets and of universes and species, societies, the world around them, the universe around them. It's not just about that. It's also about the exploration within. It's about the characters. It's about expanding on humanity in a way that right now, in current day, how we are now, we might not be able to foresee. It's about that brighter future. And that's why I did the video last week where I said, hey, if this is taking the dark turn that they're implying, it's not going to be Star Trek, and it's going to be disappointing. So, all right. What I will say before I get into this is there's going to be spoilers. There is going to be spoilers. All right. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this. So we open up and we get this nice music, this classical music, and we zoom in. They're in a nebula or something. They're out in space, and you zoom in, and it's the Enterprise D, the classic Enterprise D, and Picard is playing cards with Data. They have a cool little banter back and forth. It was just nice. It set the tone. That first scene set the tone for what I wanted this to be. And it mostly sticks to that. As it goes through. But that was just so good. It was just so good to feel something a little bit lighter. It obviously takes a turn at the end, and you find out, obviously it's a dream. He's dreaming. Picard's on the Vineyard, which is what I said about almost 2 years ago when this was announced. I talked about, hey, he should be on the Vineyard. And I talked about a retired Picard and how I would do it. Now, my idea was basically to have him be a part of Starfleet as a teacher, a commandant or something like that, passing on his knowledge to a younger, thing. So obviously we can't have anything too positive here. He's got to be a recluse because stuff happened. And that's okay. I mean, it usually makes for good storytelling. But he's on the Vineyard, and which is exactly where he should be. Exactly where he should be. And those who haven't seen TNG, obviously you should watch TNG before you see Picard. It gives you a whole lot. There's a whole lot of stuff from TNG in this episode. And some of it's more than fan service. It actually ties into some of the plot, which I liked, and I'll get into that in a minute. But Picard's on the Vineyard. He's become a recluse. And he's left Starfleet, and he basically left because of losing faith in Starfleet. So that Variety article that I talked about last week, where he said, Starfleet's taken an isolationist turn and things aren't positive and all that. At least so far in episode 1, it's not really shown in that way yet. Now, they may show something else later, but based on episode 1, what I'm getting so far from this is more Picard's outlook on Starfleet is that they've taken an isolationist turn and that he doesn't agree with the direction they've taken. But you see from their point of view, at least in this, is that Starfleet is still Starfleet. There's just some specific things that they've done that he doesn't agree with. They made decisions that he doesn't agree with. That doesn't inherently make them wrong decisions. And I hope they don't just try and make it to where Picard's right and Starfleet's wrong. And but so far in episode 1, that's kind of what I got out of it. It's not, hey, Starfleet's this big bad organization now, which is what I was fearing based on last week's video. Based on episode 1, that's not what we're getting. And on this vineyard, we got, like I said, Picard, and he's got a couple Romulans staying with him. I think they're a couple, an actual couple, staying with him on the vineyard and helping him out. And obviously he's kind of depressed because of some things that happened. And then you get a news crew coming in to give an interview. And apparently this is his first interview since he's left Starfleet. And the interviewer's kind of really pushy and really annoying and asked questions that they said previously they weren't going to ask. And, basically it involved, why did you leave Starfleet? But they take this opportunity to tie in a couple TNG images, which is nice. They also take this moment to give us some exposition as to what happened. So I mentioned before that there's a Countdown comic. There was a comic book series, it was 4 issues, called Countdown. And in that comic, it was a tie-in to the Star Trek J.J. Abrams movies. And obviously it's post-TNG and post-Star Trek Nemesis. And in that comic, you had the destruction of Romulus, which is also shown in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movie from 2009. In that comic, you had Commander Data. You had Commander Data. I'll get into that in a minute. But you had all kinds of different characters and cool little tidbits. It's been considered continuity until the first episode of Picard came out. So I guess it's not continuity. They did cherry pick specific things from that comic to put in this. They obviously kept the destruction of Romulus and Picard being involved. And Picard being involved in Romulan affairs, he's basically he's an ambassador to Romulus with Ambassador Spock. So, and that's in the comic. And they don't really mention Spock at all in this, but basically Romulus gets destroyed and Picard's trying to help him. So that part is from the comic. The other thing from the comic is like Geordi created that ship that Spock flew back in time in the movie. So that's kind of a little cool tidbit. And like I said, Worf and Data, who was alive, was in that comic. So they cherry picked that. Romulus is destroyed, and apparently there was an attack on Mars that happened the same exact time that they're deploying these ships to go save Romulus, coincidentally. So I'm hoping that it's not coincidentally, and those two things tie together, and that's shown in this series. Because if we're supposed to take that coincidentally, I don't know. And this comes to one of the other issues. This is one of the main issues I have with this. I know I'm kind of hyped and I'm overly positive because I went in with such low expectations. But there are some real problems here, and one of it is there has been reshoots in this. There has been rewrites in this, and you can feel that already in episode 1. And that there's so many plots going on. There's so many ideas just thrown in your face. That it feels like the writers, again, I talked about this in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, the CW show. It feels like the writers just made a giant dartboard, put some Post-it notes up there with plot ideas, threw darts at the board, and then whenever the darts landed, those are what they picked to be in the show. So they don't all coalesce, and like I said, it's a lot being thrown at you. You have a plot with Data's daughters, which I'll get into in a second. You have a plot with the Borg, which I'll get into in a second. You got a plot with synthetics being banned and them attacking, I guess, something. You have that. You have obviously Picard being reclusive and and all that. There's just so much stuff. There's so many things happening. You also got some Romulan conspiracy, I guess, going on. There's so much stuff thrown at you in this first episode. And honestly, the second half of this episode was very rushed, very poorly paced. There is a moment with some of the worst dialogue I've seen in a while, like CW level dialogue, in which Daj, who is, again, I'm getting into spoilers, Daj, who is Data's daughter, in the sense that she is basically created out of pieces of Data or whatever. They mentioned Bruce Maddox. So Bruce Maddox is a character who's in season 2 of TNG, I believe. And I was kind of shocked that they showed that they mentioned him. And I knew I recognized the name, so I had to look it up. And yeah, he's from season 2. There was one of the best episodes of Star Trek Next Generation had Bruce Maddox. And basically he was just a real terrible person. And he didn't view Data as a human being. And he went on trial in order to get Data and claim he wasn't a person and couldn't deny being transferred to him for study and disassemble in order to create more Datas. So... and obviously at the end of that episode, he kind of is enlightened a little bit. It's a really good episode. So if you guys are checking out Picard, there's obviously a couple episodes that I would really highly recommend, and I'll put them at the end of this video, that you should go back and check out, that tie into a certain degree or give you some more insight into this episode and where Picard is headed, I think. One thing I really liked about the beginning, I kind of passed over this real quick, was the music. Not just the music in the opening scene, where they're in the nebula and they zoom in Enterprise D, which was a classical song. I'm blanking on what the name of it is, but I really like that. But also the theme song. The theme song for this, it seems like it fits what they're going for with this. This is obviously a different kind of Star Trek show, but so far at least, parts of it feel like Star Trek, which is the first time I've seen anything that feels Star Trek in 20 years. It's been a long time since I've seen anything that feels Star Trek. Obviously, I don't like Discovery. I'm sorry, guys. Anybody who likes Discovery, that's cool. You can like it. I think it's an aggressively mediocre sci-fi show, but if you take it as a Star Trek show, it's terrible. It's a terrible Star Trek show because it's not Star Trek, which is what I was afraid this was going to end up being. But I do like the theme song here. It just fits so well. I mean, it's very thoughtful. It just feels thoughtful. And, I'm interested to see the soundtrack throughout this. So yeah, it'd be cool. The music I liked. And of course there's another dream sequence as well. There's 2 dream sequences in this episode and they both involve Data. And, I mean, it's cool to see Data. It's cool to see some dream sequences so you can, him looking back on things. I think they could have been handled in a much better way than what they are. And mainly it's because the way the dreams come across, it's like somebody's beaming the dreams into his mind to, move him along in the plot instead of him looking back and examining his psyche and that kind of thing. Specifically the painting. The whole painting thing, I'm just like, well, where did that come from? I mean, it seems like the plot is dictating those dreams and not the dreams are letting the audience into what the character is thinking, what Picard is thinking. So that was kind of a disappointment, but as I said, there's some really terrible CW style dialogue here. The scene where Daj shows up to talk to Picard, and she's talking about how, she took out these bad guys and it was like lightning driving her to the ground or something. Just really, really terrible dialogue. It was the worst scene in this episode by far. But basically you have Picard finding out that, Daj is Data's daughter. And you find out by him going to Starfleet archives and a little bit of nods for fans there with like the Picard Day banner. But through this, he decides to, help out Daj. Daj finds him mysteriously or whatever. There's a big fight scene, which the 2 things in this that don't feel Star Trek. Well, 3 things. The 3 things in here that don't feel Star Trek are Daj and Picard's dialogue, because bad dialogue usually isn't a thing, isn't associated with Star Trek, because Star Trek is mostly known for its thoughtful writing and dialogue, because it really relies on those to tell the story, because they didn't have a budget when they made these shows. So that's one thing. The other thing is there's like a scene where she's like drinking wine with her boyfriend, and then just the people beam in and just aggressive, just kill dude. It just didn't feel Star Trek, that part. But the thing that didn't feel Star Trek for sure was the Matrix. Dodge basically jumps like 67 feet in the air while she's fighting these Romulans and taking them out and all this stuff. And it just feels so not Star Trek at all. And the thing that really caught me, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, please don't make this character the focal point of this series. It's called Picard. Focus on Picard. Don't create this another OP character that we don't care about. They didn't build her up at all. I mean, we had no time to connect with this character before being just thrown into it. So you don't care about her. You don't really know where her powers come from and her abilities. And inherently, a character who can do everything is kind of pointless. The only thing interesting about her is that she's on the run and she doesn't know who she is. But obviously that's going to be played out pretty quick. The thing that really shocked me was she was taken out. She's gone. She's dead. Seemingly she's dead. And I was like, whoa, okay. Well, I didn't see that coming. Where are we going to go now? And that's when, there's a whole thing where Picard it goes to the Institute and all this stuff. You find out that there's a twin, that these are twins, and that they're, synthetics, and synthetics have been outlawed by Starfleet because of their attack on Mars. And so that's one of the things why Picard left, beyond stuff with Romulus. So that's what I mean by there's multiple plot points going on, and they don't always they don't coincide so far, at least in episode 1. They definitely feel like a bunch of different ideas that don't necessarily correlate together. I wish they just picked one and focused on it. Like I said, the first third of this, when it's just Picard on the vineyard and all that stuff, and he's having the dreams and everything else, that stuff worked really well. I was totally into that. The second half of this is where you get the weird bad pacing, and there's Matrix fights and a lot of just nonsense. And so basically the second half of this, I would say the majority of the second half is basically about Dodge and Data's daughters and all of this. And but the one thing that was weird is they didn't mention Data's brother, and they didn't mention Data's daughter, the previous daughter, Lowell, from the episode. So they kind of just brush over that, and they do bring out Before. So Before was from Star Trek Nemesis, basically the third Data brother, the third Data android that they found in that movie. And in it, Data downloaded his memories into Before he died. And it was alluded to in the end of that movie that Data's memories were going to take over, and you were going to get Data come back in Before's body. They decided to not go that route. And they tell you in this episode that Data's memories couldn't be held in Before's body. Basically it was an older model, and it just was incapable of doing that. So again, this kind of, I don't like this idea, and that because I've always viewed the Countdown comic as continuity, and because it's been said as continuity, and you had Data as a captain in that comic, and they wanted to erase that, I guess. So just to have Picard have more things to torture him. So he has issues with Romulus being destroyed and the evacuation falling apart. He has problems with Mars being destroyed, synthetics being outlawed. He has problems with, obviously Data died to save him. So he has all these issues that led up to him leaving. So it's kind of cool. It wasn't just one thing. But as far as in episode 1, it doesn't seem to correlate very well together. And of course, at the end of the episode, as I said previously, you find out that Dodge, who seemingly was killed, has a twin. So Data's daughters are twins, one seemingly dead in the first episode. And you have the other daughter on a Borg ship somewhere, maybe seems to be like she's some kind of mental health or rehabilitation, type of psychiatrist or something. I don't know. And Picard seems like what the show's going to be is Picard putting the crew together to go save her and that seems to be what the show's going to be about. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, what direction everything goes. So far, there's nothing I've seen that I think is completely terrible. There are some things I don't like. Like I said, the main problem here is there's way too many plot points thrown at you and way too many ideas thrown at you, especially in the second half. I didn't like Dodge and that she was Matrix style, whatever. You didn't get time to build up to her or understand her as a character. And I'm kind of glad that they went the route of just taking her out, because I want them to maintain the focus on Picard. It's cool he's putting a new crew together and you can have some of those characters, but you got to maintain the focus on Picard, because Patrick Stewart is carrying the show on his back right now. Without Patrick Stewart, you'd really just have some subpar dialogue and some subpar story setup. It's Picard as a character and Patrick Stewart carrying the show, with fans who are already invested in that character. That's what's carrying this. That's what's keeping us interested. So it's not a dark, gritty style show that I was afraid it would be. There's still some potential here. Now, would I recommend that you pay CBS money to check this out? I had to pay CBS money to check this out. It's the first time. I feel real dirty about it. I didn't want to pay them money to check this out, but I'm just too big of a TNG fan to just pass up the opportunity on watching this week to week. So is it worth you guys paying CBS All Access? I think CBS All Access is a kind of a terrible platform. There's not much on there. I didn't even know what was on there until I paid for it to check out Picard. And so I won't recommend CBS All Access ever. But is it good enough to where you should go ahead and pay CBS All Access to check out Picard week to week? If you're a big TNG fan, yeah, I think it's worth it. Yeah, I got to see what happens week to week. I don't want to wait till it's over with. If you're a casual fan, wait till it's over with, do a 7-day free trial or something, and then check it out after it's already over with. I don't think it's the best thing ever. This isn't like Mandalorian levels of good yet. It's only episode 1, so it might get better. I don't know. But if I was comparing episode 1 to Mandalorian and how I felt after that to how I felt after this, it's pretty clear difference. And I like Star Trek as much as I like Star Wars. So it's just with this, I'm just being cautiously optimistic. I'm not getting my hopes up because I've seen what they did with Discovery. Have you guys seen Picard? I'm interested to see what you guys think. And also a big thank you to any subscribers that moved over and subscribed to my channel because of my Picard video from last week where I talked about, dark and gritty is not Star Trek. Star Trek is about a bright, positive future. And so I want to thank any subscribers that came over because of that. I haven't decided quite if I'm going to be reviewing Picard on a week-to-week basis, or maybe I'll do it in chunks where I pick a couple episodes, maybe every 3 episodes that I'll do a review, or I might just wait till it's over with. I haven't really decided. I guess it mostly depends on the interest on this video. So if you do like this and you want a week-to-week review, just like, comment, let me know what you think. Overall, yeah, it's not bad. It's better than average, which is good in my book at this point. My bar is pretty low for a lot of these franchises because they've just, over the years, the studios and the creative teams involved fundamentally don't understand what these franchises are, and they don't understand what the fan base is or wants. So it's interesting to see them at least attempt. There's at least an attempt here in Picard to try and care about what the fans think. Because if you lose the fans, which is what they've done with Star Trek Discovery, if you lose the core fan base, that's it. The franchise is done. Like I said, I'm interested to see what you guys think of Picard. So comment, let me know what you think down below. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Thank you, subscribers. Once again, you guys are awesome. And if you like this video, please like, comment, subscribe, share, do all the YouTube stuff, or don't. I'm not a beggar. I'm Keith364, and I'll always tell you the truth.